A warning.
Next time.
So no free kick. It sounded as though there might be one for a moment. The Saints are playing for a home final. Carlton's fate won't be affected by tonight's outcome. Geary gets the first kick of the night for St Kilda and places it well to Schneider. St Kilda's forward line showing signs of starting to function last week, and they will look to try and maintain the momentum. They press here. Carlton managed to hold them up. There'll be a ball up.
Lockie Henderson has the job on Nick Riewoldt, and Gardner with the first disposal of the game. What a fantastic start for the big fella.
Saints haven't won on the MCG in their last 7 games here. Had 2 draws, one of them a very famous one. Judd gets in, prizes it out for the Blues and puts a lovely bounce on it to beat about 4 of them. Clark, the first man back, and Michael Gardner starting in there with McAvoy on the bench. Gilbert for St Kilda, held up by Judd. Back to Blake. Dempster across ground, and Gilbert gets back for a second possession in the early part. Favours the southern side for St Kilda. Didn't quite reach peak, but he's clever enough to give to Dawson, to Goddard, to Geary. St Kilda building, looking promising. Montagna into the 52 wide, I reckon, for Milne. It's out on the full.
Well,
it'll be a Carlton free.
The little fellow with the footy, Stephen Milne, 9 times this year he's kicked the opening goal of the game, and nobody's done better than that. So he does start games well. Joseph, his opponent tonight.
So goes for a bit of distance out to the wing. Gilbert came. Montagna, there's a whistle. And advantage. The play on anyway. Goddard, spearing ball. Plenty to beat for Riewoldt. Didn't go, and probably was a wise decision. Looks better now. Del Santo just didn't get quite enough on it. And Joseph escorting it. Milne appealing. Not out. First score to the Saints.
Well, pretty lively start, Rob. A long walk around from the other side of the ground.
Yeah, glad you, Malcolm. You're pretty fit.
Yeah, well, the pressure's on, isn't it? The pressure's on and the pressure's on. Carlton right at the pump.
Everyone up in the centre and beyond.
Big Gardner with a couple of touches. Wow, what a great mark.
And Goddard looks as though he's peaking at the right end of the year. Kujitsky and Riewoldt both in the midst of that. Peak down, look for Del Santo, gave to Graham, misses with the shot.
Well, he's usually a good kick, but not this year. And we'll see the terrific one-handed mark by Goddard. Jason Graham, 5 goals, 11 behinds this year.
Now Walker, a long way from home. Nice ball for Warnock. Looks for run behind and discovers it. Walker kept on coming. Perfect delivery for Gibbs. And it's a fairly open forward line, which is where Betts thrives. Didn't quite complete the job, but he's not out of it yet. And now Cruiser with the kick to the square. Helping starting forward, can't take it. Armfield clears the path. Scotland had to run around it to find it. Wasn't ideal. Jones, Snyder, Saints can cling into gear. Gardner, it's 2-on-2 ahead. Does he go to Riewoldt or longer to the little man in the pocket? Running hard, it's Milne who marks, and Yaron. Oh, that was a fine line.
Gee, the Gardner kick was perfect.
And that's not bad either. Over the head of the giant. Snyder just... Well, he did get there in time, but not enough to have the effect he was after. And Tui's going to be able to take the relieving mark.
The Irishman back in the Carlton team. Played 9 games for the year. The Blues have won 8 of them. Off to Yaron, who was a star in that round 7 match that Carlton won at Etihad Stadium. Such a tight game that night. Jones hard at it, but he copped it from the equally vigorous Robinson. It's a St Kilda free kick, and it goes to Jones.
Lee Montagna keeping a close eye on Chris Judd.
Montagna receives. Goddard everywhere at the moment. In the Riewoldt direction, he was double-teamed, but it didn't matter. Out to the boundary. They were into Riewoldt before the first bounce. Here's how it started.
Do you reckon that was started by... It was just a clash and just blokes pushed each other? I don't think anyone premeditated that, Rob.
Not too much in it.
Well, everyone was looking around, but Murphy, he was right onto the next passage of play. Uses Gibbs and uses the space for Simpson to work in. Next up, Garlett comes hard across the 50, but that base is now covered. So a bit of treading of water. Murphy involved again, and Garlett kept on presenting himself right up the ground. Takes the mark, but a long way from where he first started.
Sam Gilbert on Garlett.
Gibbs and Scotland. So Blues happy to possess the ball. Now, who's going to be their key forward tonight? McAvoy thumped it away. The rejection was good, but Russell was there to pop up and score the first behind of the night for the Blues.
Rob, who did you pick initially? And then when the Carlton changes, I didn't quite...
Well, I picked Carlton initially, and even though they've had 2 changes, Carazzo out, Jamison out, I'll stick with the Blues.
Okay.
What about you, Malcolm?
Yeah, I'm actually 50-50. I went for Carlton initially, but I've just got a feeling those couple of outs might hurt them. They're very good players, aren't they, for them? And in a really tight game, maybe the difference.
Coming off the rest, Carlton, so they should be fit and raring to go. Mind you, St Kilda's form in recent weeks has been really good, and they absolutely smashed North Melbourne a week ago.
Of course, there is this question about round 24 mindset, but as Brett Ratton said to Matthew Lloyd in that pre-match interview, they're coming off the bye, and Carlton, you would think, would really want to tune up and be at a peak, at a pitch. Here they go. Gibbs, dangerous going forward at times this year to Simpson, to Armfield, but just beyond range. Wanting to give it off, eventually giving it off, not where he originally intended, and giving to Murphy.
Murphy started on the interchange bench, has been on 3 minutes and had 4 touches.
Very crowded 50, but they work it to Walker, the man who kicked the winning goal that night in round 7 at Etihad Stadium.
And this is where zones, Rob, frustrate, I reckon. You end up not playing on anyone. I mean, St Kilda players were guarding air, not guarding anyone.
Yep.
So if you've got nerve and a good kick, you can always pierce it.
And Carlton, they were very patient.
Yes,
there. They didn't bomb it. They just waited until an opportunity came up. He's been quite accurate with set shots this year, Walker.
30 goals, 6 accurate. In fact, from 48, just a little bit of hook on that. And crossed the line before it was marked. So a minor score to the Blues, 2 behinds apiece. What a beautiful night to be boundary riding, Mark Howard. Good evening.
Wonderful, Tim. The warmest evening of the season to date. Those 2 late changes for Carlton, their fans will be interested. Michael Jamison, just general soreness. They say there is no concern about his knee. He'll be right next week for that final. Carazzo was involved in a small car accident yesterday. He's okay. His car's not so good, and that is why he is a late withdrawal with soreness from that too.
Polo takes the Saints to Kazitsky to the wing, and in the blink of an eye, they're deep inside the scoring arc, and Milne has the shot coming up. And he loves to play on, we know that, and that's pretty much why.
It's at the 10th time he's kicked the first goal.
Well, it's the 10th time.
Been a wonderful player.
He's done it again. It's the 10th time that he's kicked the opening goal. Next best is Barry Hall, but Saints supporters would love the fact that Riewoldt took that mark at centre-half back, got it out to Kazitsky, who in turn got the ball to Milne. Well, that's his reaction, and why not? He's a start of the game specialist. 10th time he's kicked the first goal of a game this year. I think Barry Hall comes second with 5.
And it's going to be the 3rd year in which he's been St Kilda's leading goal kicker. First time way back in 2002. Even the great Riewoldt only led the club goal kicking twice. A free kick St Kilda's way. So the Saints with the first goal of the night, and plenty of conviction about them early.
Certainly is.
Clark to Polo, who's finding a spot for himself at his second club. And back out wide to Clark, who could run on. The menacing Robinson coming at him. In the Kazitsky direction, height advantage on Dygan. And a good tackle too. Tui there to help out, but he was well smothered. Jones and Del Santo at him. Throw in. St Kilda with a lot of aggression.
McAvoy's playing out of the goal square at the moment for the Saints. Riewoldt standing about 30 out from goal. Cruiser getting some work done for the Blues. So Warnock against Gardner. The combatants in the ruck contest. Jones over Geary's head. Did him no favours, but the bouncer certainly did. And that opens up the door for Gilbert. Oh, he got the run of it. He hasn't quite got hold of it completely, and Yaron was well aware of that. Just sweating off him. Gibbs came in and made a difference. But plenty of Saints jumpers back there to clean up. Clark, who can also make the Saints fans a little nervous when he has the footy.
See that push there by Russell? Why do players push, Rob? Watching football now, just everyone wants to push. And the umpires play. That was in the back, actually, by the letter of the law. You just don't need to push.
Jones for the Saints. I don't think they like each other, Malcolm. It's about as simple as that. Oh, Stephen had it, was on the break and lost it.
Gee, that push is really going to hurt you.
Scotland off to Simpson. And he delivers well. Lucas back in the Carlton team for the first time since round one. O'Halpin did extremely well to hold Dawson at bay with his body and to juggle the chest mark.
Tim, I thought he might have played at the back just because of the height of Kazitsky and Riewoldt and all that, but playing him up forward's an interesting move.
That's the line. He's a useful pinch-hitting sort of player for the Blues.
Yeah.
To bring in for particular games, vigorous, spirited, obviously not the most talented. 77th game, I think it is, tonight. In his 7th season, and he's learnt to kick the Sherrin football pretty well.
It was a nice build-up, really. It probably made the mark in the end, made the build-up look better than what it was. That wasn't a great kick under pressure. Just kept his body in line, tried to push back, and did it pretty well in the end.
Well, O'Halpin playing up forward, and you can see Mitch Robinson in picture. He's in the forward line. His main job is a negating role on Sam Fisher. Only problem is Sam Fisher's not paying him much attention at all.
Blues have had 5 of the last 6 inside 50s, so they're having a little burst here. Finally rewarded, and the scores are level. Armfield starting inside the centre square for Carlton. Simpson.
It's interesting, Hutto.
And but Cruiser and Warnock both off the ground at the moment.
No helping in the ruck.
Mitch Robinson out on that half-forward flank, 30 metres from an opponent, but the Saints just aren't interested in covering him.
So the Blues have gone small for the moment. The Saints have the footy, though. And what a season Dempster's had. Be right up there in their best and fairest. Into towards the forward pocket. Laidler couldn't keep the feet. First to recover Henderson. Diagon back to Laidler. The underground is all right in that situation. Armfield walking that fine line. Got help, and it arrived with Murphy. Wasn't the greatest of handballs, but somehow it got through to Lucas, who's made a pretty reasonable start. Going to Chris Judd, never a bad option, or not usually anyway.
Blighty, what do you make of Montagna playing on Judd?
I think it's sensational. What it does, it actually tries to free up Dal Santo and Goddard around that midfield area, and I think it's a great learning curve. He's a good player, Montagna, anyhow. Yep. But Judd can destroy games, so I think it's just acknowledging the champ.
And the other one is Dempster, who's gone with Murphy. See Murphy in picture there. Dempster will be a metre off him all the way. He's one of the best taggers in the game, is Sean Dempster.
There's a real scramble, and the umpire deems it was a throw.
And I don't reckon enough teams still do this, Rob. They think rotations are going to stop you from getting them, you know. You can't follow them. You can still follow them. Of course you can.
Snyder. It was good positioning by both Henderson and Joseph, who took the eventual mark. They got exactly where they wanted to be. And Scotland brave enough to use that left foot. It just stuck with Simpson. Carlton with short stuff here. Might be able to weave their way through. No, they won't beat. Montagna gets the release handball. But nowhere to go to.
Good contest. Walker working down the back. Off to Diagon, who took one of his most courageous marks in the dying moments of that earlier season match, which was a match winner for Carlton. Lucas over the top, gives it back to the mature, aged recruit. Into Robinson. Blake applies pressure. Peak there as well. Lucas, though, comes in to help out for Carlton. Puts it into the 50, and O'Halpin's gone again.
Goddard should have gone. Goddard had a bit of a look, and I reckon he'll be a bit disappointed with himself there. We'll have a look on the replay. This ball was Goddard's if he wanted it, and he might have thought, well, I've got a defender coming through. Well, that defender didn't come.
Yeah, I just think I just reckon he read Zach Dawson maybe going for it as well, Rob. I wasn't.
Well, Malcolm, this time next week, would he go?
Oh, no, I just thought he caught Dawson's eye.
More straightforward shot than the earlier one, and he kicks his second. Flying start for the Irishman.
Not sure he could have actually touched the ball, Wolsey.
Well, I reckon there's... I want to have a look at it again, because I reckon Gilbert didn't help much either.
No, generally, it just all happens very quickly. I mean, a voice from Zach Dawson would have been handy, but I just reckon you catch the white, you know, you see a teammate.
So, stark difference in the kicking efficiency between Carlton and St Kilda. The Blues taking a 1-goal lead at the midpoint of this opening term. Beautiful night for footy at the MCG. That bounce just good enough to count. McAvoy and Goddard, and the dash provided by Clark. Nice timing, just working off beautifully there, Yaron. I wonder how he's going to go in the finals for Carlton. That's going to be one of the questions, isn't it? Could be one of the keys to Carlton's success, if he can run off half-back.
Well, they need him running, because he's an 80-metre player when he gets up and going. Covers the ground, kicks the ball really well. Carlton at the moment got double the number of marks than St Kilda.
Good surge from Robinson, really probing kick too, making defenders nervous. Blake gets back there first, protects the ball and the space, allows Gilbert to run with his full face towards goal, and he finds Snyder, and they can work their way right through the corridor. Although, again, Clark, nice delicate little give to Goddard, and the build-up's been good.
And Fisher it is who can bang it in deep.
Oh.
Henderson went, it would have been Digans. Danger for the Blues here. Rebound, Stephen somehow fumbled it. I think there was a bit of contact between a head and the football there, and the Blues get out of a tight spot. Simpson to Robinson to Joseph Milne's opponent, giving him something to chase, delivering well to Garlett. The speedster for the Blues just couldn't see the hole to run through. Goes for Cruiser out in front. Betts lurking dangerously. Got it. Got Murphy there to help. Cruiser as well. The big man on the left, round the corner, goal.
Do you reckon the space here at the MCG, Blighty, Carlton are really exploiting it, aren't they?
They are. It was actually exciting. St Kilda probably should have kicked a goal.
Yeah.
They had control of the ball enough to do something with it. Just didn't happen. Then it was just exhilarating footy all the way down.
Brett Radden would be excited, wouldn't he? The Cruisers kicked one and they're helping two so far. He's getting goals out of his big men.
I'll tell you who's not excited, and that's Zach.
Which Zach, Wolsey? Is Zach Tui as well tonight?
No, Zach St Kilda.
Yeah, I think I knew which one it was. Out of the middle, Graham tries to do a bit of heavy lifting there with Chris Judd on his shoulders.
Chris Judd, 2 disposals.
Yeah, but you know what he does, Rob? He actually does the team things too. So he doesn't actually spit the dummy when he's getting tagged.
He's gone forward now. Graham's his opponent.
So that's interesting. Goddard was making the players the third man up, and he was interfered with, according to the umpire.
They go third man up a lot, St Kilda.
4 separate one-on-ones into the 50, which they would have liked, but converged by the time the ball arrived. And Henderson's made a pretty good start, actually, for the Blues. He's able to feed Armfield, and now they're running.
He's been more than handy, Henderson, going into that back line in the absence of Jamieson. You still worry when the ball's around him, because you think, geez, he's going to stand up, but over the journey in the last couple of months, he's been good.
Robinson busy early, and he's kicked well a couple of times. That had to be perfect. Yaron wreaking havoc here, could go all the way as he gets himself inside 50. Oh, just didn't carry. Zach Clark might have denied him goal of the year.
Well, that was a 90-metre play. Bold play by Robinson to go into the centre corridor.
Oh. Yes, centimetres.
Nice inward ball from Goddard. Gilbert hemmed up against the line. Happy to shake the tackle And then Blast. Again, a couple of one-on-ones over Kazitsky's head. There was some interference. There's the size mismatch we were talking about pre-game, Rob.
Yeah.
Laidler having to take on...
Yeah, but we saw a massive mismatch last night. Josh Hunt playing on Cam Wood, and it didn't worry Geelong.
That's a scrappy ball into the 50 from Montagna. And Backman love that sort of stuff. Russell, spearing ball. Their ball use has been outstanding so far, Carlton. They're really relishing the space that the MCG provides. And St Kilda are having a hard time shutting them down.
Well, over the recent years, St Kilda's had the wood on Carlton. They've won 12 of the last 14. So the Blues really have a point to prove. Beat the Saints by a narrow margin early this year. But they've been the Saints' bunny for a long while.
They sure had by far St Kilda's longest ever winning streak against Carlton. 12 wins between 2002 and 2009. The 4 biggest they've inflicted on Carlton in history during that period. But Carlton have turned the tables by winning the last 2. And now on the big ground, they might well feel they have an edge on the Saints, who, as I said, haven't won here this year. In fact, haven't won since last year's final series. Dawson getting involved there, getting the fist away, but straight to Carlton's Tui. And that's an attacking ball to Lucas, to Armfield. This has got promise written all over it. Garlett can just camp under it. Oh, and he plays on, and he misses.
Why, oh why, oh why. And he's done that several times this year. I guess nerves get to him. He'd rather just get it over and done with, rather than go back, carry the football, have thousands and thousands of eyes watch him. But experience has to teach him eventually that you've got to make a certainty of that.
The thing that interests me with that, Rob, is that it would have been 4 goals for. If Carlton get the next one out in the middle, it's 5. All of a sudden, game's nearly up.
Yep.
You know, you struggle from there.
Absolutely.
Look, they'll get a goal here.
Well,
Absolute
well.
certain.
Snyder, McAvoy looked a bit uncertain. He didn't want to take the responsibility on himself, and that's allowed Judd to intervene. And again, they can link up so well out of defence. No hurry. Walker hits Robinson. They keep on running.
Shouldn't talk too early with the ball in this bloke's hands, but Carlton's kicking's been very, very good.
Well, it's fairly ambitious, but it almost did come off. And Betts takes the juggling mark. So the Blues lead by 14, but as we've discussed, it could easily be a lot more.
Well, the marks are 41-17.
Robinson's going to set it up. Garlett's going to wait. And when he flew, he just didn't quite get the timing and placement right. Another behind.
So the Saints under pressure at the moment. They kicked the first goal. Carlton have kicked 3 since then. Here's Blake playing his 198th game. If St Kilda can win a final and he comes through unscathed, he'd get to 200, and what a great effort it would be. So a throw in Carlton's side of the wing. 8 scoring shots to 3. Carlton on top at the moment.
And now Dean Polo with the tagging job on Judd.
Gardner and Cruiser down to Tui it comes. Held up by Geary. Jones with strong arms and hands holding up Judd. Schneider brought down by Russell.
Well, the Saints haven't got that extra man in defence, as they so often like, and a close eye being kept on Sam Fisher wherever he goes. Walker has him in his sights at the moment.
Yeah, plenty of shuffling going on away from this contest. It's a Carlton ball again. Murphy takes them to half forward. Polo, though, using Geary and Graham. Plenty of handballs. Only one handball away from disaster. All getting into the clear. Well, they got into the clear, but it didn't amount to anything.
Look at the middle.
Dygan takes the mark. And now they can slice and dice their way across the ground initially. 2 minutes 20 on the clock. What a season from Scotland. And O'Halpin has wreaked some havoc so far. Not able to take the mark this time. Numerical advantage used by the Saints. Blake to a one-on-one. McAvoy slipped in front. This time it's he who has the size advantage. But, of course, once it hit the ground, that was to Laidler's liking. And the Blues can run. Dygan, Scotland, Yarran again. As they reload, or do they, from the wing?
Yeah, Yarran getting himself into trouble. Milner's out there for the Saints, but Carlton maintained possession. Lucas to Yaron. Carlton fleet of foot. Quick movement of the ball as well, bothering St Kilda. Oh, that was a little bit reckless from Simpson. A Carlton free kick and advantage called here. Walker dancing. Simpson from the standing start just had to blaze. Betts, who can get onto the crumb. The big man, McAvoy, to Peak, just had to blaze away. Revolt has 2 against him out here, and he really hasn't got into this game so far. His direct opponent, Henderson, running straight into trouble in the form of Raph Clark, who's been pretty good. Off to Peak, banging it, hopefully. Laidler attacked it. Revolt just tried to block his path. Carlton with numbers. Judd, Warnock, and the Carlton skipper now gives it to Armfield.
Gee, Laidler's attack on that bouncing ball was first rate.
It's gone up a notch in the last few minutes. Margin still 15, been a very handy opening quarter for the Blues.
Look out, Yaron.
As they ring around to find that man, Yaron, in the southern halfback flank. And next is Scotland. Another busy opening quarter for Heath Scotland. His 8th disposal for Gibbs. A little dance, and the umpire said he's just put it down. So it's Gilbert's footy.
Been playing Gibbs a lot in the forward line in recent weeks, the Blues, and I think it's a really good move.
I said Gilbert was off. Frustrating for Gibbs, but it's going to end okay for Carlton. Dygan takes the mark. He gets 2 or 3 calls from the middle of the ground.
There's a perfect play from Gilbert then. You play on with your head, Rob, not with your hands and feet.
And
just off the line, just play on with your head.
Again, Murphy, his 8th touch out to Joseph. Clock against them here. And particularly with kicks like that. Simpson and Murphy just kept on going and going. And the siren sounds. Carlton lead by 15, but it could be a lot more.
Well, probably could have been, yeah, 3-5. Just missed some easy ones. Pretty exciting quarter, though, but St Kilda hanging on.
All right, well, of course, the Blues have got Essendon waiting for them next week in the first week of the finals. We can't wait for the first time led, as a coach at least, by James Hird.
The first quarter, and Carlton generally belts St Kilda in the clearances, so that's a plus for them. But Carlton's taken 50 marks to the Saints 17, and Carlton just do a lot of chipping around that half-back line.
Gardner to Montagna was a good start for the Saints. Dygan in that sweeping role, he plays so effectively. Graham didn't get the easiest of bounces to control. Stevens had a really good season for the Saints. There's Judd, who also didn't have a huge impact in the opening quarter, and ended with 5 disposals.
Oh, well done.
And Walker.
It's a super effort, Malcolm, isn't it?
2-1.
Yeah. I heard you saying, well done. It's Walker against 2 there. His own opponent in Blake, but he made sure that Fisher couldn't take the mark.
Just kept himself in the contest. Warnock, a host of Blues in front. Gibbs, Peak, Del Santo. Bit of a scrap amongst themselves. Eventually territory was gained and not much else. Robinson, that was clever, and into the clear space they were. The fumble from Yaron didn't help, but he gets a second go at it, and he had Scotland with him for the ride. He didn't like, in fact, the cupboard was completely bare ahead, so he decided to wait a bit longer and now use O'Halpin, who's been redeployed into defence.
After kicking the first 2 goals, Fisher does get himself loose this time, and again gives St Kilda a 2-on-1, which he controls and gives to Gilbert, carrying it a long way and then kicking straight to Scotland of Carlton.
It's almost like he picked him out.
Inexplicable.
Yeah.
Bit hard to mistake the jumpers. St Kilda in the away strip tonight. Carlton having worn the powder blue when they played early in the year. Shocking kick from Scotland.
Hang on, it's one of those left-sided footies.
There's Del Santo in picture, just the 2 disposals for the game. Dennis Armfield doing a really good tagging job on him.
Well, I honestly think he's the most dangerous because he's the best kick in the midfielders. So I think Brett Ratton's done his homework beautifully.
Carazzo, a late withdrawal, who may well have had the job otherwise. And that's a beautifully placed ball for Stephen Milne.
Well, I reckon it was a mongrel off the boot, Hunter.
No, it was beautifully placed.
Well, it ended up being beautifully placed. I'm not sure it was intended.
And he runs around and kicks a goal. That's just what Stephen Milne does.
Let's have a look.
Beautifully placed, Rob.
All right, I think I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, Hutto.
You're probably being generous, Rosie.
OK, Malcolm. Did Sean Dempster mean to pass this to Milne?
I think he did. By the look at that, he kicked across his body. He meant to kick it. Looked as though he was going to kick straight. And I got a fair idea. It was a look-away kick, yeah. Very hard to do.
Used to being underestimated as Sean Dempster. He's the invisible man of league footballers, really. And as we mentioned last week, he's played in 5 AFL Grand Finals.
Yeah.
It is remarkable. Stephen and Jones work it here. St Kilda perhaps gaining some confidence. Del Santo in the revolt in Kajitsky direction. Revolt waiting down might be dangerous. Can't shrug them. Off to Montagna. Very clever kick. Gardner almost took the replica mark of the one that he took to win that game against Geelong in 2009.
All of a sudden, just the air of this game has changed. St Kilda have come out very strongly in the opening 3.5 minutes in the second quarter. They've kicked it 1 goal and very nearly another there. Russell, the shuffle of feet and outside he goes. Blake over the top, could have probably marked it, could definitely have marked it, but that may have been more effective. Snyder and battle of wills in there, and Robinson we know is very strong will, but Montagna might kick a goal anyway for the Saints, and they have sparked. In his 100th game, he cuts the margin back to 2. So,
just it was nearly a high tackle there too. Just probably could have been paid, but interesting thing is that from those kick-outs, if you can't get clear, it's almost going to go back over your head now, isn't it? If you can't break the lines, there's going to be another shot at goal.
His 100th goal in league football, Lee Montagna.
In game 168, so not a big goal-kicking contributor from the St Kilda midfield, but he's pulled them back here to within 2 points. They've come out smoking at the start of the second quarter, and as they showed last week against North, they are capable of devastating patches which can come apparently from nowhere, from ruin. Scotland again, Garlett and Gibbs for Carlton, needing a bit of steadiness now. Kane Lucas in some space, chance to run on, wanted the handball, wasn't there, goes for Cruiser, out of position, but comes up with a free kick.
Yes, and Zach Dawson had him in a headlock.
Zach not worth a brass razoo early tonight. 3 goals kicked against him, and there could be a 4th.
You'd have to say that's a free kick.
It's a very odd one, isn't it?
Yeah. I feel he sensed he was losing his body position, so you just hang on.
Cruiser's going to do the kick across the body.
Around the corner. If he was Stephen Milne, you'd back it in, but too much curl too early. And it's another miss by the Blues.
And so Brendan Goddard finds Montagna. And he gets some really good protection off the ball from Blake, so he could just change his angle a bit, be a bit more aggressive with the kick. Kazitsky made a physical impact, and Milne knew where because he was, but he had to bend the knees, and it got away. Judd with help from Warnock and Toohey and Armfield and Toohey again. The overlap working well, all pumped up, adrenaline going. It's touched off the boot, which was not the news that Eddie Betts wanted. Clark was onto it, stripped of the ball and holding it. Oh, well, what's he going to do now? He's called it on. Confusion reign, absolute chaos, and the free kick ends up going the way of the Saints. The replay will be an interesting tale to tell on that one.
That might be used on next year's demonstration DVD to show why this year's interpretation has been scrapped.
Already?
Well, that was a mess, wasn't it? No one knew what was going on. Gilbert, long clearing ball for the Saints.
Let's have a look at it.
Yep. So two rounds of confusion. Betts trying to fox the mark. Clark had prior opportunity.
He gets pinged, even though the ball just really came loose in the tackle. I'm not sure
the question is how quickly the penny drops, I guess, with players as to whether or not the team's got a free kick. And I suppose the umpires are giving them credit for more football intelligence than we sometimes do. And They might be right at times. Laidler to Yaron.
It was a beautiful little jump. See the way he turned his body in the air then, Rob?
No,
he's a nice player,
He's
isn't
a
he?
class player.
Yeah.
Laidler and O'Halpin. The kick just a bit hot for him. Couldn't get it on the stretch. Polo nursing it to Sam Fisher.
Yeah, a lot of people would wait for that ball, sense it, and just not... He just turned his body, so beautiful play.
Pretty intense game here. St Kilda have to win this, otherwise they're going to Sydney for a cutthroat final. And Carlton want to win here too. That's out on the full from Schneider. So it's the Blues ball.
Eddie Betts struggling to get into the game. Dean Polo, his opponent. And Polo's been terrific for St Kilda. Week in, week out, gets responsible jobs and pretty much does it. Geary on him at the moment.
Betts just the 3 touches thus far. A little nudge from McAvoy, but couldn't stop Warnock taking a very good grab out there on the southern wing. Wanted to lay it off, still does.
And Ross Lyon switching the responsibilities. Judd's had Montagna. He's had Clint Jones.
Blues really intent on handballing. Lucas decided to change the mantra. Garlett was there, ready and waiting. He's still sweating on them. And the big Saints have just managing to hang on to possession.
Gee, it's good to see Michael Gardner out there.
Fisher to Dawson, indulges in a bounce. Ooh, gets it back to Graham. Into the middle. They've got some numbers there, and again, the dexterity from the big man. Didn't quite get to the mark it needed to. Betts kept on boxing. Ooh, squeezing the kick out. Jones into the 50, 3-on-3 down there, and terrific aggression, wonderful approach. Really used his initiative, Henderson, and Scotland's able to just dab it to a teammate in Tui.
Carlton having trouble working their way through the St Kilda midfield now. Tui sold the dummy well on peak.
Irishman to Irishman.
O'Halpin, but McAvoy comes the other way. Numbers against Satanta. Blake, well tackled by Lucas. Plenty of support. Geary to Polo. Now Stephen Garlett coming at him. He can hear the footsteps. Graham got it away from there, but sent it a long way towards Carlton's goal. Clark works his way through. Delivers well. Del Santo, a very good receive. Just too far out, but he's gone for Milne. Scotland did well. Clean spoil.
Malcolm, has the Gold Coast got any Irishmen on their list?
No.
No.
I just had a mental blank, Rob, but no, I don't think so.
On their board, Bloody?
Certainly not on the board, no. Well, there might be some Irish descendants.
So the high contact goes the way of Gibbs.
Does that mean you have to drink whiskey? Is that what you mean?
No, just young Zach Tui. I'm really impressed with the way he's going. And it looks Satanta's been around for a while, but he gets an opportunity to play finals football by coming into the team this week.
Digan to Betts. In modern jargon, they've really shut the exits down out of defence for the Blues in this quarter. This time they find their way through. Murphy just didn't get the bounce and the help that he needed. Oh, he's paid the advantage this time, and Gibbs takes the mark. That was almost an accidental advantage, wasn't it?
It was.
By the time he blew the whistle, the ball had already been whisked away.
Puts his body where it's going to get knocked around, Mark Murphy. Geez, come on as a footballer. He's a really tough unit now.
So Bryce Gibbs, career high 16 goals this season, but 16 goals, 18 going into tonight. His first scoring shot for the evening, one that Carlton need him to convert, and shouldn't really be a problem from there. Angled it nicely, used the left-hand goalpost and worked it through.
Yeah, well, they certainly do that, didn't they? That's struggling to get it forward a bit here. It's been a pretty good effort so far by the Saints. And look at that. Eddie Betts worked really, really hard there. 2 big efforts, which actually set it up in real terms just with that second effort.
Carlton get a much-needed goal. There are still concerns about Matty Cruiser, though. He's been out. The doctors have been out talking to him saying, my foot's still not right, boys. So it looks like Cruiser is coming off the ground again. So Carlton have certainly got an issue there.
And that's a reason why we see our helping in the ruck. Ideally, Cruiser would be doing ruck work now, but he can't jump.
Helping one well there. Gibbs, not 15. Stephen able to give it to Gardner. And the big Saint puts it into the 50, but Tui leads Milne to it. Good tackle by Milne. Defensive option by Tui.
Already, Rob, I'd suggest... hello. Don't.
Carlton free kick, as you can see from the crowd reaction.
Oh, no.
Why?
For pulling a face.
Why?
It was scary.
I thought the only thing he punched was his opponent's kneecap.
I was about to say that Gardner's done a fair bit, Rob, in
He's
his
been
first half.
terrific. Yeah, I reckon he's been really good. Often they are first up.
Yeah,
He'll
first
be
up,
as sore as anything tomorrow.
Russell and Laidler collaborating well. It ends with Robinson, and now it's in Yaron's hands. Couldn't really be in better hands as far as Carlton are concerned, and it just gets better and better with 3 bounces out to Dygan. The Saints did well because they had the area ahead of him covered and put some confusion in his mind, and he was bouncing and hoping the situation would improve, and it didn't. Goddard, they've reverted all the way back to the goal square to try and get something started, and Montagna's happy to bounce and spear through the corridor to Stephen.
There's a lot of space around at the moment, Hutto.
Yeah, there is. There's Peake in the middle. One more and they can really attack hard here. There's a pokey little kick, but that'll do. Fisher goes with the flow. There's just a moment of hesitation, but it's good weight on the kick. Milne couldn't get back onto it. Did he leg Simpson? He didn't. No helping.
This will come back.
Cruiser hasn't left the forward line, Hutto. He's the only bloke who hasn't moved.
Judd spots him from a long, long way away, and unfortunately, the kick just couldn't get there in time.
Yes, he'd have to do some chasing Cruiser, and he stayed down there. Judd arrives, puts pressure on Gilbert. Play on the call. Has that familiar echo of ball. Thunders around the MCG. Here's Peake. Graham there to receive. Or Polo. Back to Peake. No way out. Clark, awkward half volley. Graham's got it now, though.
They worked really hard there, St Kilda.
And goes for territory with the torp. Double fister from Russell. Fellow South Australian Dygan to Murphy. Good ball to Robinson. Carlton free kick if they want it. Robinson intent on moving it. Simpson out wide. Running for him goes Joseph. Running off Milne again. And sold the dummy beautifully. And can do some damage here, and he does to Gibbs, who can line up for his second of the quarter.
Sorry, Tim, I thought he missed him. He went to the second option, which was actually a better option.
Let's have a look at Stevie Milne. Got a free kick against him for this. And I think Aaron Joseph stood on his finger. That's why he got a bit irate. And he put his hand on his chin.
That's what the free for, wasn't it?
Yeah, you can't touch the face, so that's why the free was given. Well, I'm sure Joseph stood on his fingers. Well,
yeah.
that'd make you a bit angry, wouldn't it?
Of course, yeah.
It's not a pleasant thing to do.
Yeah, it's a tough game, isn't it, when you give away 50 metres like that?
Handy goal kicker this year for Carlton, Bryce Gibbs. And he's got it measured off nicely at that end. His second.
Here comes Cruiser off. Foot, ankle.
They may well sub him.
Yeah.
Carlton have kicked the last couple, but the bad news, you can see it there, Matty Cruiser. The coach, Brad Ratton, talking to their substitute, Davey, saying, you're about to come into the game. Matty Cruiser comes off. He's given the red best. He's certainly got an issue with that left foot. We'll get across it at half-time.
Gee, it makes it really interesting. O'Halpin's on the bench now. O'Halpin will have to do the ruck work with Warnock. It means the Carlton forward line is really short. May not affect them that much. Gibbs has been, he's pretty much the centre-half forward now. Walker can take a high mark. The rest of them are short.
Their defence is short as well, though, Wolsey. So it'll be interesting to see if St Kilda can get enough ball. Exactly what will eventuate at either end of the ground.
Well, Carlton will do a lot of this. They'll play a lot of keepings off now.
Well, Walker goes to Judd. Nothing wrong with that. Saints try and fill the defensive 50, shut down any leads. Warnock will be a long target if he so chooses. We know Scotland happy to use the left, and Dygan, as they just try and pick their way through. On the bounce won't make things easy, but they've got inside. Dygan, bit of a floater. Warnock doing some heavy work. And the ball was touched on the way through.
Let's have a look at this standing on the foot. There it goes. You reckon it was an accident, Malcolm?
Oh, I think the punch to his leg was an accident too, so it was square, and then just a little tap on the neck to say don't do that again, and to get a 50-metre penalty. I reckon the umpires have got to read the game, Rob. You know,
Get a feel for it.
Yeah.
OK, Malcolm. St Kilda have been good, but Carlton's got the last 2 goals. They're playing keepings off. Nick Riewoldt had 1 touch for the quarter. Kazitsky's had no touches for the quarter. How do you get Riewoldt into the action?
Well, what he's doing now, Rob, is trying to fill a hole in defence along with Kazitsky. And I suppose the truth of the matter is when you put the big fellas into those holes, they're hardly ever used. It's the quicker blokes that catch your eye because you're not going to kick it long. So I think they get missed a bit.
Well, gee, Carlton certainly playing keepings off with the marks. 73 marks to 30.
Kane Lucas without a goal in his 9-game career. He's still without one. Warnock there, Judd as well, but there is a great big Kazitsky fist knocking it through. The Blues lead by 17.
Right, here's their chance now, St Kilda, to work this out of this area. This has been their problem, getting it out. In fact, both sides, most sides now have a bit of trouble when you've got 18 blokes at one end of the ground covering them.
We saw Lucas there, back for his 2nd game, his first one since the opening round of the season. A bit of a fan of him, actually, and be interesting to see whether he's in their finals mix. He was a sub in that opening round game too, so he has not had a lot of joy at senior level this year. Blake, poking ball is okay to peak. So they came out strong at the start of this 2nd quarter, but the Blues have had the answers. We know what's happened with Cruiser. That would give them some encouragement, St Kilda. Peake's going to land it in the middle of a big pack. Can Riewoldt have an impact? Not quite. Again, Yaron and Tui. And Scotland. And the Blues have recovered from a sluggish start to this 2nd quarter. And
well, the Saints have just got to be very, very much aware of getting on a Carlton player, because Carlton will be patient, but this is the last thing they want to do is just bomb it high.
Awful ball from Simpson. Armfield bangs it on though for the Blues, and it's a foot race here. Vulnerable territory for the Saints. Goddard did it well. Peake, untidy. Del Santo good enough to get back and retrieve. Blake, Gardner. In no man's land. Geary wide for Polo. St Kilda hold up. Next goal an important one as we edge towards half-time. Carlton by 17, having led by 15 at the first break. St Kilda starting each quarter well, then the Blues getting the better of it. Long ball, Peake. Kazitsky there boxed out. And number 42, the feared number 42 for the Navy Blues. Terribly feared back in the 60s and 70s. You'll get another go.
I'm glad you didn't throw the 50s in there.
A few broken teeth and blood stains on that old jumper. Laidler with the footy for Carlton, not Tui, so it was a free kick. And the former Cat. Walker was getting himself set there, looking to do a bit more skywalk. That might be out on the full off Stephen's boot. Unlucky. Carlton's ball to Judd.
so Judd, his 11th disposal. Short but pretty sweet to Gibbs, who again they're using the width of the ground. Carlton, that's a terrible kick. Gives Jones the chance to motor on. That was an interesting. Surely that didn't come off the boot the way he had planned it. Laidler takes the mark. It's almost like a rugby league style kick. He was trying to chip it up and hope that his teammates could get back there, but it certainly didn't work out that way. Scotland back to Laidler. Again, they're working the width of this ground. Really trying to stretch the Saints and get it out into the spaces. Judd poking it across again for Armfield.
Well, they got a Halpin rucking against Gardner, and you'd think that the Irishman should be able to outrun him.
Careful to Murphy.
Trouble is, St Kilda have got 3 or 4 extras back here. It's pretty hard work if you're going to go 50-50.
Well, they've just pinpointed a couple of important ones.
Switch of play always works.
Russell takes it out to Lucas. And then again to Scotland. He's going to give it a ride, but there's nothing there for them.
Your extra players back. Once they switch, you've got to keep going because all the players are over this side. You just give them time with the ball in the air like that.
Jack Stephen for St Kilda. But, the Blues' ability to cover the ground starting to worry St Kilda, perhaps doing so as each quarter wears on. Stephen short to Dawson. Saints playing for survival in the back half right now. The last 3 minutes of the half. McAvoy there with the big height advantage. Kajitsky down. Dygan covers for the Blues. Pumping it forward to Simpson was good. To Robinson, having a pretty good night. Not sure who he was after there. Certainly wasn't a navy blue jumper in sight. Del Santo and Blake. And now back to Stephen as the Saints reload. And it's with Gardner to Gilbert. Pushed right on the kick. Got a result, but McAvoy fumbled it. Dygan held it up for Laidler. Now Armfield, the little nudge clear, was clever for the Blues because there were 2 of them out there to receive. Simpson runs to draw and then give to Gibbs. Not much to go to. Throw in the outcome.
In the end, that wasn't a bad result for Carlton because it was 4 against 1.
Here's Zach Tui a moment ago, accidentally having his foot trodden on, I think, by Kajitsky.
Well, that does happen, accidents, Tim.
With that number on his back, I'm sure he'll just tough it out. Gilbert to Stephen, steaming out of defence. It's on here. Milne's ready for it, but the kick was in between the 2 Saints.
He read that beautifully, Henderson.
And it was easy fodder in the end for Henderson. And that was a dangerous kick. Milne was clever intentions, but it didn't quite get through to Graham. Now, how's the umpire going to read this?
You've got to lay a tackle for it to be holding the ball.
Well, there's a new ruling. I thought once you're on top of it, you had to get it out.
Yeah, but someone's got to tackle you. He's right.
Well, normally they just hold it in.
He could see it clearly.
Del Santo, Jones. Ball could have bounced every which way there. Snyder was sweating. And Laidler found the line.
Big play here for the Saints. A goal,
yep.
You know, give a bit of momentum going into half-time.
17 the margin. O'Halpin carrying the ruck load. And effectively there too to Murphy, to Lucas, who's enjoying himself out there on the big stage. Murphy back to Gibbs, crafts the kick back to Lucas. Up for possession, number 14.
Well, the only player of any size is Walker in Carlton's front half.
It's almost like they're just going to try and defend this lead to the end of the game, Carlton. Bit of a speculative kick there across, but the numbers were always with the Blues. So 35 seconds remaining in this first half. Dangerous.
Yes, could let the Saints in. He has a man running forward. Stephen should sit. Should be an open goal, and it is. And it gives the Saints life before half-time.
I can't believe that. O'Halpin thought it was someone else's. When you're a metre off the ball, you reckon it might be yours?
Yeah.
Have a look at.
And would you mind?
What was he doing?
Perhaps you might move towards the ball.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, this is the worry. There's the pass, and O'Halpin doesn't move into the footy. You've got to move at the ball. Stevie Milne just picks his pocket, sets up Stephen, and Stephen's had a really good second quarter to help the Saints outscore the Blues in this term.
20 seconds left. Now 15. And it's Carlton with one last thrust. Gibbs, Garlett's 40 out. If he spots him, he doesn't. Instead, he goes for Yaron. That'll do. Now, where's the kick going to be from? OK, on the line is the mark. Siren about to go. So Yaron now knows what he's being asked of here.
Just on his length?
I reckon it might be.
Just on his length, I reckon.
You're allowed to go back 80 metres and come in and have 3 bounces on the way.
Yes, yeah, that's when he's at his best. Big guard, he gets down there and says, well, he's going to have to kick it over my head.
Well, he's got to kick it, what, 54 metres? It's gettable. He's got the momentum. He's going to wind up.
Bit of tension around the MCG right on half-time. Yaron, unfortunately for Carlton, never threatened.
Wow.
So the Blues will have to settle with an 11-point lead going into half-time. 5-8-38 to 4-3, 27 of the G.
Hasn't had a kick. He's had 3 disposals, all handballs, and Kazitsky's had the 1 kick. So you would expect the 2 big Saint forwards would have a much better second half.
And Riewoldt coming off his first 5-goal haul of the season last Saturday night against North Melbourne. Carlton's first use of the ball. The Blues lead by 11. Now Davies pokes them forward, but wide, and that might be out on the full. Off Walker's foot it is.
He's claiming the above the knee. Boundary umpire having none of it.
So Clark's footy. The Cruiser injury going to be a big talking point out of this. In the left foot, the injury last year to the knee to the right. I wonder if it is a stress injury, whether it has been born of the fact that he's favoured that injured knee that he's brought back this year after such a careful, measured rehabilitation. Now, Yaron with the footy for the Blues. Saints will be looking to close in early, as they have done in both quarters so far. Zach Tui for Carlton. Joseph out of defence, pumping it on to Judd, who hasn't had huge impact yet. O'Halpin, Carlton's only tall forward. The decisive fist for St Kilda coming from Dempster.
What an authoritative fist. He didn't try and overhit that ball, did he? It was just timing like the tomahawk punch. Just straight through. Fantastic punch.
So Del Santo with the kick start. And now up and at him is Clark. Well-placed ball for Gardner. Hung in the air a long time, though. Didn't worry Gardner at all. Shrugs his shoulders and moves on quickly into the 50 with a poorly placed ball. And Laidler found that much to his liking. Back into the middle, and they've opened them up through the centre again. And what an impressive performer Tui's been. Gave it to Russell, who wasn't really expecting it. Tui kept on going, and now he sees the major openings, and now he's put it through. Oh, what a lifter, what a start to this third term.
Number 42 strikes again for the Blues.
These two don't particularly like each other, and we'll show you why.
You both had your warnings? You both had your warnings, all right?
Well, this happened early in the game, and Aaron Joseph stands on Milne's hand, and Stevie Milne says, I'd love to strangle you. And we reckon Milne's just given Aaron Joseph 1 in the guts there.
In the guts.
So it just square up tight.
So the margin out to 18. Murphy the takeaway for the Blues. Wide for Davies, playing as a forward here. Generally seen him on the other side of the centre line for Carlton this year. The Tasmanian towards the top of the square. Judd was there. Betts is down. Got it onto the boot, but just didn't get it onto the instep and hook it back. Blues looking to grab the jugular early in this second half.
No goals from Betts, Garlett or Walker tonight so far for Carlton. We talked about the key Saints being down. Gilbert makes the footy his own and swings it to one of those key Saints. Nick Riewoldt, you can hear the response from the crowd, letting him know that this is his first kick of the evening. Henderson's done a terrific job. Not that he's had great service. And that's a high one. Kazitsky, now some interference. So
I thought that was just good body work from both. Both went at the same time, and
I agree.
Yeah, that was a bit harsh.
Pete casting the role as a forward. And that will not please the Carlton coaching box. A very easy, uncontested mark, well inside the 50.
Chris Yaron. Yaron just took his eyes off the ball. Watch left of screen. Left of screen, you can see the little fist of Stevie Milne go into Joseph. Not that I'm dobbing him in or anything.
Gardner's just been substituted off, boys. He was off at the 4, 10 and 24-minute mark of both quarters, so they've obviously planned that, and he's now rested for the rest of the game.
Now that's interesting, given what we were talking about with the height factor. And Peake's kick drifts. I was going to say a little, but in the end it was a lot. And it clipped the post on the way through. So the margin back to 17.
Well, he either got some weird aerodynamics on that, or the breeze is having an effect. When the ball's well off the ground, called not 15. Henderson in terrible trouble, handed it to Dygan. Illegal disposal. Free kick to St Kilda, almost certain goal. Tough call that.
I know there's not a rule of the week, but there's been a few of those so far this weekend. The distance hasn't been paid.
Interesting to measure it relative to the length of the goal rectangle, which of course is 10. Henderson nabbed by the arm by Stephen. No way out. So Jack Stephen, a goal late in the first half to resuscitate the Saints as the battle goes on up there. And the boy from Lorne gets his second. A pretty reasonable call looking at that.
I always find that kick is a nothing. You're going to have to kick it long anyhow, the next one. It's just a nothing kick.
Time your jump, boys. Time your jump.
Smash in. No, it's going to be a free kick. Just keep your arms down.
This is a side.
That's what I'm saying. If you make contact, free kick.
This is going to end in tears.
Yeah.
Not prohibited contact, mate.
Nice little sideshow for us tonight. Milne versus Joseph. Margin back to 11. The main game. The plot's thickened there a bit too. The Saints getting busy. Montagna, high one. Try catching that. Snyder, Judd, Gibbs. The luxury of time to really blast it long. Our helping worked out of it by Dawson, but not enough to kill the contest. Gilbert found a way, but didn't get through. Betts also didn't get the footy to arrive at its desired destination. Not cleanly, but the Saints eke it out to the wing and get another chance. Dawson, the fumble. This is round 24 personified tonight. Some just really scrappy footy. But now the Saints are into some motion. Gilbert feeding Geary, pumping it. Time for Revolt to arrive. No, he stayed out of it. Kazitsky, the spoil, fell for Grand. There's a loose man forward. Snyder just couldn't get it through to the sub-ray. Geary, they will get it eventually. Surely they've done this as hard as possible. Geary over the top. Milne knows how to find the goal, but even he can't get it on the boot. But by stealth, they're still in with an opportunity. My goodness.
You know, Pete didn't want to have a shot at goal.
Well, it was a struggle. That can be said of it safely. That kick was probably a metre shorter than the kick in a moment ago, which makes it about 11 metres, I reckon. That one was given the OK. Gibbs, long ball. Warnock's got to do the job low down. Wasn't able to. The line is a very, very valued friend.
It was frantic, wasn't it?
St Kilda had about 3 opportunities. They looked as though they got off the chain 2 or 3 times, but just couldn't quite get the ball onto the boot at the crucial moment. Goddard, Skyer, Kazitsky arriving like a big truck. Schneider, Revolt, no one between him and the goal. Should be a certainty. It's not. And that post has been struck twice by the Saints in the first 6 or 7 minutes of this quarter.
Longer option by Yaron.
But again, straight down the middle of the ground.
Loves having a bounce, Tui.
Tui trying to burst onto it. Simpson disposed of legally by Gilbert. And that clears the path for Zach. There is some breeze out there. There's a lot of debris coming from the crowd. A lot of rubbish out there on the ground. Kick goes out to the wing. Now, Jones was motoring away, but the umpires paid the mark to Murphy.
Stay there. Play on, play on.
So, more short stuff into Simpson, been prolific tonight. Disposal 26 to that man Tui.
Well, Tui and Yaron both love to run and bounce. And the Saints just have to really man up because Carlton will be trying to just hit up with short passes.
Oh, how easy was that for a helping? Oh, and how bad was that?
Well, with the good, the bad and ugly of St. Kilda.
His first touch for 15 minutes. Nice little hand in the back.
Well, it's a push in the back to Zach.
Pushing the Zach.
Poetic justice in the outcome. Halpin has shown that he can handle the set shot, and for reasons known best to himself, went for the left foot snap. Margin 11. Dempster, bold ball, good ball. Gilbert. Clark with him. Gibbs trying to apply pressure to Sam Gilbert. Schneider. Running into space is Clark. Good looking move this by the Saints. 50's open. Stepped around the oncoming Digan but dragged the kick. McAvoy still a long way from home with the sit. Milne, he would have enjoyed that but didn't finish the job. Tui needed to be quick. Did it pretty well and put a very good bounce on it for the Blues to Betts and delivered it neatly to Armfield, who's a speedster. Just got it onto his boot. First man there will be Gibbs. Runners inside and outside. Davies the man in the corridor. A long way from home. Helping the sit. And this time, he will go back.
I'll tell you who's important, very important to Carlton is Gibbs, who was part of that build-up because he's pretty much, the target when they get to half forward now.
Taken 9 marks, Gibbs, tonight, Rob.
Yeah, he's become a very good player for them, almost averaging a goal a game, which he had to do this year.
5-2 from set shots, so Halpin for the year has his third of the night.
Thought he toe poked it.
Stephen Milne took to the skies in that last encounter with Aaron Joseph, was set himself for mark of the year. Couldn't quite take the mark, and he fell a little bit awkwardly, Stephen Milne, after that one. Just testing it out afterwards. He's a bit short of a gallop, but looks okay now.
Well, Carlton back to that 17-point mark. Judd, throw. No sympathy for the superstar.
Well, they're red hot on that, the umpires, in the last couple of weeks.
Geary tosses it up. And that's gone Milne's way. That won't please the Blues fans or Joseph, but Milne will love it. Revolt deep in the square, one-on-one with Henderson, demanding it, but Milne not particularly interested in that option. Just pops it over instead. I think it might have been better to try his hand and kick it long to Revolt.
Well, the boys down in the goal square are all saying, Stevie, for God's sake, kick it to us. And he's done that dinky little short pass that was never going to go anywhere.
All right, he's up at the contest, Milne here. We're just waiting for it to come out, and it does come his way, and he darts through. This is good. This is very good from Stephen Milne. We've seen that before. And they're right in it now, the Saints.
That's terrific play.
Isn't it? Just took it on, didn't he?
Let it go.
He's kicked half their goals tonight, Stephen Milne. 3 out of 6. He's carrying a big load. And it means a bit to him.
Geez, he took him on, didn't he? He took on 2 or 3 players, says, catch me if you can.
It was brilliant.
You just love the way he goes about his footy.
The umpires have stopped recalling those wayward bounces. Joe Blake has just gone higher than he's ever gone in 198 games for the Saints.
I reckon that's the best mark he's ever taken, Tim.
Is the word screamer allowed to be attached
Yes.
to the name?
Well, it's not often you get Joe Blake and Screamer together, so go for it.
Goal for goal struggle right now. And the Saints pressing, looking to seize the moment. Peake getting it forward. Scotland stealing it. Robinson to Russell. And now it's Kate Simpson. 142nd consecutive game tonight. Longest streak in the competition at the moment as Milne has a breather. He and Joseph just annoying the life out of each other, and that's probably what has brought on fatigue. Simpson has it again.
You wouldn't want him off the ground for very long, though, would you, tonight?
He's just kicked his 489th career goal. Now that Barry Hall's retired and Brendan Favola isn't on a list, that puts him equal second of current players. Jonathan Brown, 498. Pavlich and Milne, 489. Extraordinary achievement from a pint-sized forward pocket goal sneak. St Kilda's footy down the back. Del Santo, Schneider in unfamiliar territory and with very little to go to, so works it around. Graham looks up and sees the same plight ahead of him. Now Ray, still got the same problem. Carlton with the numbers back. Del Santo, Saints have done well. They've bought time. Kick not quite getting the target. Polo, the overhead to Schneider, cleverly off the outside to Gilbert, who can load up from 45. Miscue, but kick the goal.
Well, it's the old story, Rob. They haven't put them away on the scoreboard, Carlton, so they just keep giving them chances in a low-scoring game, isn't it?
Yes.
You just keep at it. You never know.
And Sam Gilbert, that doesn't surprise me that he mongrels it off the boot for a goal.
Well, it's as close as they've been for more than a quarter.
And have a look at Joe Blake. Just short of his 200th game. 12 years with St Kilda. Plugged a heap of holes and one of the respected clubmen.
He's got a nice leap, actually, you know, with his rucking ability as well. So, I mean, he can leap.
Well, Grant Thomas did play him in the ruck for a couple of years.
Gibbs tries to pinpoint Simpson. They've gone to him so much tonight. 28 disposals make that 29. Robinson. But the Blues now know they can't just chip the ball around. They've got to do a little more than that. Walker. Gibbs working for him, decides to go more direct. Wasn't a high percentage play for a small man, Murphy, to be the target. Oh, Gilbert lets Armfield in, dancing around on the spot. Clark shuts him down, although he has dived on it here now. This will be an interesting interpretation. Umpire says it bubbled out.
Gee, they do get numbers back quickly, St Kilda, though. It's hard work going into the forward line.
Kosicki got the tap. O'Helpin was quick to his feet. And again, the umpire called upon to bounce it. 7-10 to 7-5. A home final at stake as far as St Kilda are concerned. And a morale-boosting victory as far as the Blues as they fine-tune for their what could be an epic Sunday clash with Essendon next week.
If you can just look at this screen here, there's a ring of Carlton players on the external of this. On the outside, in other words.
Yeah, so the outer circle.
They've got a secondary circle around all this. So the Saints, if they kick it, it will be coming back very quick.
Gilbert puts the head down, the bottom up. Ray sees exactly what you were talking about. It's a 2-on-1 with Revolt. And it bounced pretty nicely for the big save.
And
that's a big victory.
Yeah, that's huge.
Now they can reset.
Yeah, they just put a ring around that contest, which I think is a smart play because you get too many forward line players in there. Just Riewol's done perfectly there.
Goddard waits at the rear of this one. Kaczynski doing the ruck work, but it comes to Judd instead. There's Goddard trying to apply the tackle on Gibbs. Milne's put himself into the play, but Yaron, a class above. Brilliant stuff from Yaron. Deserved a better finish. Oh, wonderful teamwork from Betts. And Davies doesn't give it the finish it deserved. What about that from Eddie?
Well, we've got to see the Eddie little flip out to the side because it was faster than the eye could see. We'll catch it shortly, but the short pass, he could never mark it, but clever enough to just give a little clip of the ball out to his teammate who hit the stick.
A goal in it. A straight kick or 6 behinds. And it's 6 behinds on the scoreboard. Blake for the Saints, who are edging closer by the quarter as they play for this home final. So important against Sydney next week. Raf Clark to a 3-on-none. All St Kilda here. McAvoy, Robinson arriving for the Blues. Gilbert, Betts arrives, and Robinson applies the clamp. Carlton fans want ball, and they don't get it. And the interpretation of that has changed considerably.
What about someone coming from another country and they're coming here tonight? I mean, that ball, it's a unanimous call, isn't it, from the opposition team, anywhere you play. It is so Australian, our football, it's great.
Dygan gets them out of jail. Armfield just arts the back at the crucial stage. Robinson, they're trying to get the ball to Yaron at any cost. Fisher was onto it, and the Saints have got options galore. Smorgasbord could have gone deep, decided to go across instead. Stephen had a lot of time, and look at that, it's Zach. He's back. Actually, he's forward.
Can't understand, Russell just charged bullet a gate at the St Kilda player, Stephen, who chipped it over to Zach.
And scores could be level, and in this quarter we've seen a Joe Blake screamer and maybe a Zach goal.
Russell goes forward. He just needed to corral and make Stephen do the kick instead of just putting over the short one to Zach.
His first goal of the season is a timely one and scores a level.
Well, I don't think the result's going to be 96 points tonight. Both of these clubs appear to be playing for keeps and want to keep their form up, which is great.
Boys, we know how good Carlton are normally at their scores from stoppages. Number one in the competition. There's been very few stoppages tonight. Only, I think, 8 stoppages around the grounds, or 8 clearances. And the throw-ins have also been low as well. So that's a tactic from St Kilda, denying one of the main ways Carlton kick goals. It's been reasonably effective. Scores level.
That was Zach Dawson's 4th career goal. One of the previous 3, you might recall, was the winner in a game against Carlton at Etihad Stadium a couple of years ago. Saints attacking again, looking for the lead, but this time Milne's gone for holding it. Free kick to Dygan. Blues threatened to get away early, but right now they're hanging on, and they could be trailing in just a moment as Del Santo gives to Revolt, who has 2 targets, and Zach might become the secret weapon. He was nearly going to play on from outside the boundary there.
Well, I reckon Ross Lyons said Carlton's struggling for height. We can put Blake at full back and he can cover O'Halpin, and I don't think Carlton's got a tall who can cover Zach.
The left foot curler from Zach just misses.
Yeah, but
the Saints lead.
He may not have a matchup at the other end, though.
Yeah, but what's caused it is rubbish kicking from Carlton.
Well, yeah, Dygan was the one who put that pretty poor kick in.
And the scrubber kicked back into the middle before. I mean, it's just rubbish.
Well, I think Carlton's short kicking has to be spot on, because they believe that's the only way they can win this game, is to keep possession with short passes. They've doubled the number of marks than St Kilda, but if they muck up their short kicks, they're in trouble.
Judd senses the moment here, takes it on and takes them on, and takes it comfortably up to the wing, where Davies, who goes back to Judd, but
absolutely
this time
outnumbered. This is
overdid the kick. Wading his way through is Clark, and the Saints have the lead, and they want to add to that. Graham, great collaboration, the 1-2 punch and the high ball into the pocket. Kosicki read it all the way. And they're right on top the Saints.
Well, Ross Lyon has coached really well. He's realised that Carlton's struggling for size. Didn't need to have Zach in the back line. He's gone forward, kicked a goal, could have kicked another one. And the Carlton defenders like Laidler and Dygan, they're just not big enough to play on the really big forwards. And that's obviously missing Jamieson and Thornton.
Been a quiet night. He's kicked 12-7 for the season. Gradually got better and better as the year's gone on. And he just gets that to straighten at the right moment. St Kilda's lead is 7.
Once again, it was a poor kick from Carlton into the forward line and ran straight out. It's been 3 very, very ordinary kicks that have created goals for St Kilda, and they've been good enough to get on the end of them.
Here's the live ladder, giving the Saints the 4 points for this game, which aren't in the bank yet. But if that's the way it falls, Sydney will be travelling south and playing St Kilda, presumably at Etihad Stadium next weekend. Warnock crashing into McAvoy. No free kick. Saints have kicked the last 4 goals. Judd levering it out, but Raf Clark got back. To Jones, to the reliable Dempster, who finds a way and does it well. In fact, you look at the scoring graph of this game, and it's as though it is a mathematical statement of that bit of football wisdom of the late Alan Jeans, that as the game wears on, everyone gets tighter, but the big blokes don't get any shorter. Long high ball, Laidler under it for the Blues.
Well, the other thing where Carlton's well down is their tackle count. They average 73 a game, and at the moment they've got 26.
So Tui, who's looked very accomplished tonight.
50 metres, correct. Rob, I always find it fascinating now, Brett Ratton's and the coaching group's attitude to this. St Kilda get a lot of blokes back quickly, as we look at left of screen there. And
Crosby holds on.
So you're always outnumbered in your forward line in these set plays.
Gee, it's a deep kick, Blighty. Gets all the way through almost to Halpin and Warnock.
Yeah, but you've got 2, 4, 6, 7, 8 on 4. Now, the odds are the defender's going to win that. So I just reckon you can outsmart yourself as a coach, and why don't you just play man on man to see if they handle that? Right now, they've lost the footy.
Yeah.
They had 4 goals kicked against them, and I reckon any 4-goal lot, you do something about it as a coach.
Well, Ross Lyon's dictating the way the game's being played at the moment.
It is.
Out the back, was supposed to find a teammate. Instead, it went to Peake. Laidler's left boot will send it right back where it was. Oh, Halpin. Oh, he did all the hard work, but just couldn't make it stick.
Did you have a rule? Sorry, Rob, did you have a rule? I had a coach at 4 goals. You better get off your bum and do something about it as a coach.
Yeah.
Betts and Garlett still have not kicked a goal between them, and St Kilda deserve great credit for that. Geary and Dempster doing the jobs back there, and they have been such two Carlton men suppliers of goals this year.
They're unsung heroes. Players like Dempster, Geary, Joe Blake.
Saints work it around defensively late in the quarter. A goal in the last couple of minutes could be telling. Who's this play going to favour? It looks like Carlton and Simpson. Gilbert got hold of him though. Forced the errant hand pass. Oh, Clark's was smothered too. Still the Saints might prevail. Geary. Jones back to Geary, and Jaron Geary got them out of a spot there. Finds Stephen, who's contributed a couple of goals. 6 points in it late in the term. Revolt starting to have some influence in this quarter.
The players are exhausted. If you go back to the wing where that ball came from, there's about 6 of them doubled over.
So under a minute and a half left. Low scoring game. If St Kilda could get this lead out to 2 goals, and Kosicki's is there, so was McAvoy. Carlton's defence should close here. Peake though, trying to get it onto his boot. Murphy in some bother. Carlton lost Cruiser earlier. He's been subbed out with a foot injury, which just may be serious.
Gee, a late goal here for St Kilda would be very telling indeed. They've got a minute to try and sort it out. Kazitsky with the extra centimetres. Safety was in mind. Oh, Milne went tumbling down. Stephen applies the big wrap-up tackle. Robinson, has he done enough to convince the umpire? No.
That is absolute junk. That is a terrible decision.
He did dive on it. That was his big mistake.
No, he didn't. He picked it up and got pulled down.
Let's have a look.
He picked it up and got pulled down. He didn't actually dive. The umpire's right there.
Been a big quarter for St Kilda. They've kicked 5-3 to 2-4 already. Jack Stephen, he's kicked some handy ones, but that is...
You know what I love? The blokes kicking techniques, and there's a few of them out in the ground there. The blokes that pull their hand away from the ball and drop it, it is slightly windy out there, are very ordinary kicks. The guys that guide the ball down with their right hand are the best kicks and consistent kicks in the wind. So that's going to happen forever for a lot of players out there tonight. That's
Carlton's
why they
got
miss.
to hold up for 8 seconds here. Judd knows it. St Kilda need a kick into the 50. Can someone mark it? They can, but I reckon it was just after the bell, and so it is adjudged. Once upon a time, that would have been a mark and a goal to Schneider. The margin is 6 points at the last change.
So the Saints lead by 6. They look like they're on track for a home final. Everyone wants to win finals, but perhaps no one more so than Brett Ratton against the Bombers next week.
So if they can get their nose in front in the next 5-8 minutes, I reckon Carlton will press on. If not, they might decide, well, let's look towards next week.
So the last quarter of the home and away season for Carlton and St Kilda. Del Santo gets them into the 50. It goes out for a moment for Jones. You know what his kick's going to do? Go up and give Revolt a bit of a run at it. Anyone's footy. Kazitsky wants it more than anyone else. Now Milne, a hard man to stop, so they went with sheer weight of numbers, the Blues. And that was an effective tackle.
Rubbish again. Got to give him a chance. Hey, listen, Rob, what about that free kick at the centre square? I said, if anyone puts their foot over the line, I'll cut your foot off. Would you ever do it? That's what a coach said.
Yeah,
would you ever do it? And the answer is you never would.
No, you wouldn't. If you're going to cut my foot off, I would.
No, but I meant metaphorically. Is that the word?
If you did, Andrew Walker would be naming himself Andrew Hopper, I think, Malcolm, as the Blues advance through Judd, O'Halpin, Blake, like a second skin. Satanta trying to keep it in, but couldn't.
Well, Carlton has moved Eddie Betts into the thick of the action because Eddie struggled in that forward pocket tonight, so he's playing as a midfielder.
Carlton a goal down. Warnock with the right idea, it just didn't quite home in on the right person. Del Santo, Joseph takes on Milne, got rid of him, drew the tackler well. Dygan to Armfield as the Blues build up looking for the equalising goal. Murphy, little dab, but just a little too cute. Fisher gave it up to the line.
So Jordan Russell is down in the goal square with O'Halpin for the Blues here.
Yeah, again, Montagna very close to Judd.
That was well guided from Warnock to Armfield. And there is Russell coming out with 2 Saints to contend with.
Well, Russell hasn't played a senior game for quite some weeks. Halpin, he's been out of the senior team.
It's going to be some interesting selection choices
it
for
is, yeah.
a number of teams going into week 1 of the finals. Warnock with some conviction. He wanted it straight back out.
Just the Hawthorn team that played today against the Gold Coast Suns. I mean, they've had a really good, strong win up there. I mean, blokes like Franklin and Rioli and Hodge probably struggle to get a game, will they?
I think they might come in, Malcolm.
You idiot, Blighty.
The thing for Carlton is Jamison desperately needed to get another game under his belt. He misses tonight. Do you reckon they could play Jared Waite in a final without having played senior footy for, it's about 8 weeks now?
It's too long. Not too many come back after 8 weeks and play well.
Heath Shaw will.
But I guess he hasn't.
But he's been able to train.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's different.
Well, not 15, and Snyder just awake to it at the crucial moment. Montagna dicing with death there with that short pass. Gilbert, and they're on again. Dempster, now Blake. Look ahead, it's Ray on the loose, and Peake further advanced, or maybe back to Snyder at centre-half forward. It's an underground sort of kick. Snyder lost his footing. Luck is a fortune, and Brendan Goddard knows that. Oh, he knows that well. Out to 12 now.
Once again, Carlton have trouble finding it. A lot of Carlton players get caught around the midfield and don't push back as hard as what the St Kilda players do. And I think in this second half they've been found out a bit by that, just in a structure situation.
Well, Goddard kicked the goal. Adam Schneider, just a nice little deflection there to set his mate up.
And the Saints are grinding another opponent down. A 2-goal lead. They've kicked the last 5 goals. And Carlton looking just about powerless to stop it right now. McAvoy and Judd contest that. Ball up. And this salvaging process of their 2011 season continues for the Saints. Step by step. They've worked towards achieving the impossible. And right now they're on their way to winning a final at home next week. Here's Davies receiving for the Blues. A couple of goals down now and nowhere to go for the substitute. He puts his teammate Joseph under the pump. He got the message that he was under the pump. He couldn't get out. Dygan for Carlton, giving it back to Davies. Carlton without targets, and they're not attacking with any authority. And they give it up here, or was it touched? Touch ball throw in.
And Chris Judd says, I've had enough of this, I'm going off. McAvoy struggled in the ruck. He's had 7 hit-outs to Warnock's 19.
Warnock had more purchase on that one. Robinson's handball gave it straight to Ray. Just call out a handball. Del Santo, Montagna to a one-on-one. Henderson had the prime position. Goes in hard, and there's a head clash with Goddard. And he moves it on at all costs. Snyder's got a great read on this. The bounce in the end favoured Yaron, who went towards the line. Snyder with great will, kept his footing, puts another one on the board. They've got 1 foot into a home final now.
Yeah, once again, Carlton just don't get back as quick as what St Kilda do, so it's very much one-on-one. And try to tap that back to himself. Most genuine defenders, seasoned defenders, would have tapped it towards the boundary line as a safety, second safety. Just technically did the wrong thing.
So the Saints looking secure. The 4 points that they need to claim 6th spot and win home ground advantage next week are just about in the bank. A 3-goal lead. They've kicked the last 6. Carlton with no momentum at the moment. Warnock down to Murphy. Got it started, but it doesn't continue. Jones the steal for the Saints. Del Santo working it wide.
Malcolm's point about Chris Yaron is absolutely spot on. Look at that. That's a millionaire playing in the back pocket. No real desperation. A hard-nosed back pocket player would have made sure that ball was pushed to the boundary line, and that sort of thing not made possible. His exciting stuff is wonderful, but he's got a lot to learn about not letting goals sift through.
Free kick Carlton's way against Goddard for a hold. Dygan's ball.
I reckon another goal here to the Saints, Rob, and
both teams put the cue in the rack.
Yeah, it'll become bruise-free footy.
They've kicked the last 6 goals, the Saints.
Yeah,
in that time, Carlton have only managed 2 behinds.
Well, they've done that, Hutto. Cozzy's kicked 1 goal. Nick Riewoldt has not kicked a goal. So that's good. So they're good signs. Gardner's, I think, has got through this game okay. They subbed him out in that 3rd quarter, so that's a real plus for them.
And they're going to need him next week against Mumford and co.
Yes, well, Mumford certainly was able to beat up McAvoy last time, but they love to have Lenny Hayes into their finals campaign, but that is not to be. They're doing pretty well without him tonight.
On the ball, advantage.
Red hot call taken away by Simpson to Gale. He's got Russell on. He decided to stay with it until Yaron arrived on the scene. Might regret that now. Yaron fighting an uphill battle, and the Saints try to sort of play advantage there, but
teams will wake up to Chris Yaron and that he will take you on all the time, and they will just go after him like that, and he'll get worn down. He's just got to get a little bit more percentage into his game, take out a bit of the flamboyance.
Raf seemed to have a little bit of an issue there. I'm not sure if it was cramp, an injury, or a shoe coming off. Henderson takes the mark. He's got the trainers with him, Raf Clark. Lower leg by the look of that. Kick back out to the wing. Ray. Stephen found his way through. Saints running on top of the ground. Polo. Garlett, bit of nuisance value back there for the Blues. And he kicks to a fairly low percentage area. And it's easy pickings for Clark and the Saints. He does pretty much the same thing back the other way.
Yeah, it's starting to become bruise-free.
And here's Milne. Give him an inch and you know what he'll take.
Judd has to get in and make it a tug of war, and succeeds in doing that. Raf Clark, as we saw, in a bit of trouble. Watch the left ankle.
Yuck. It stings.
St Kilda applying 360-degree pressure on Carlton speedsters. It was Garlett who was caught first in that exchange a moment ago when Yaron eventually came to grief, and the Blues just not quite expecting it. But it's incessant when you play the Saints. Simpson, a long ball. Davies tries the spoil, but Raf Clark.
Yeah, you know, I like Raf Clark. A lot of people bag him, but I reckon he's a good player, and he's had to stand up since James Gwilt injured that knee a couple of months back, and he's become a pretty permanent fixture on that half-back line.
Bit of a pie floater of a kick. In goes Robinson hard for the Blues. Carlton free kick.
If someone gets reported here, they are Dills, because they've got finals to look forward to.
So Murphy's ball for the Blues. Last week we saw the Saints at Etihad Stadium 20 points down halfway through the second quarter, and then they kicked 9 unanswered goals. Tonight against Carlton, from 2.5 goals down, they've kicked 6 unanswered, and there mightn't be an answer between now and the final siren, the way the game is being played now. This is a remorseless, relentless team, and you never know, they yet might have some impact in this year's final series, in a year which looked dead, buried and cremated for them a couple of months ago.
Does it make them favourites to beat Sydney playing down here, whereas if they played Sydney up there, they wouldn't be?
It'll be at Etihad. I wouldn't like to be playing them. If I was allowed to gamble, my money would be on them. Here's Yaron feeding Dygan, running forward.
Good adventurous play that time from the Blues. Dygan goes short and he finds Garlett. Now, is this a possibility from here for Garlett?
How long since Carlton have taken a mark inside 50?
Well,
just trying to think who it was.
They've had a team of midgets up there. There's no one to aim it to.
They've taken 12 marks inside 50 for the night. Here's the kick. Well, it never threatened.
Dean Polo. Watch Dean Polo.
Gee, that's really going to hurt.
Oh, yeah.
Got to ask yourself, it's a waste of energy.
So still the Blues chasing that elusive 8th goal of the night. Not coming here. High ball. Joseph gets under it, drops it. Goddard. Robinson's worked hard all night for the Blues. Now here's Stephen. Jones. Still Robinson working hard, giving Garlett a moment of opportunity. Judd Armfield, but the pressure comes again from Blake to hold it up.
In answer to your question before about the marks inside 50, they took 9 in the first half, Carlton. O'Halpin took 2 in the third quarter.
Yeah, 11-minute mark. So it's been a quarter since someone's taken a mark up forward. Virtually a quarter of footy.
Yeah, Judd came through. Geary. Carlton almost was able to rid him of the footy. Robinson. Now, here's an opportunity finally for Simpson. Even he not clear, but the option is there for him to go for Proke, and that's what he does. And maybe there's still some life. Ross doesn't like it much.
Well, the Brownlow favourite tonight, 21 disposals, just the 2 marks. You can see Dean Polo has got him. The Saints have alternated players on him. They haven't let him run free, but it's been Montagna and it's been Polo for most of the time, and they've just made it really hard for him. Murphy's the other one that St Kilda targeted in at the clearances.
Bounce not kind to Revolt. Dygan for the Blues to Lucas. Armfield running for him and receiving now. Carlton back within 2 goals. Takes on Del Santo. Kicks well to Gibbs, who drops the chest mark.
Well, they've got a couple of players up forward who can take an overhead mark. Gibbs and O'Halpin, because Warnock now is back on the ground doing the ruck work, which means that O'Halpin's gone deep forward.
Warnock got it down. Peak initially. Tui, Montagna, Lucas. A little bit of jumper being held, but Lucas willed himself onto the footy. There's Del Santo, McAvoy, Revolt, Dawson over the top, not quite. Dygan with the underground ball for Judd, who fumbled but kept it alive for Carlton. Dygan again, all by hand. They've managed to weave their way through. Robinson with the fairly fruitless looking kick into the 50, and it was again easy pickings for Gilbert, and he might have got something started here. Out to the wing. Snyder has a little glance over the shoulder. A couple of Saints demanding it. They're really only one straight kick away from finishing this off.
Zach
Goddard can get it to Dawson. Henderson came at the right moment, but Dawson kept it alive, and it goes to Kazitsky, and the rest is history.
And now Zach wants to give it to a couple of them.
Zach Dawson kicks a goal up forward, is involved in another one, and he's acting like a forward now, giving a bit of lip.
Yep, 4 career goals. Just about warrants the title.
Gilbert's mark and super long kick out to the wing to set Snyder up, the reason they got the goal.
9.5 minutes. More than enough time for a 3-goal margin to be pulled back, but it's not looking like happening. St Kilda have kicked 8 goals to 3 since half-time. Crowd of 55,606 at the MCG.
Judd, Simpson both back on.
Warnock the tap, but straight to Peak. Del Santo, Jones getting under the tackle. Simpson read it well though. Has Tui running for him. Didn't like that option. Preferred Davies. Now wide to the Irishman Tui, who kicked a good goal earlier in the night. Nothing to go to forward for the Blues, but O'Halpin has done pretty well. And he'll line up for his 4th.
Well, it's a good effort by Satanta. Come into this team. And what's he doing now? 50-metre penalty, so it'll be a certainty now.
See what that was for?
So from between the posts, it is a goal. He has kicked a 5 in his career. He's got 4 tonight.
It's a bit gusty out there, that wind, isn't it?
This is the reason for the 50. And you can see a St Kilda player walking through the mark. Geary.
So they're still a bit interested, aren't they, Carlton, it seems?
There's Geary walking between O'Halpin and the man on the mark, Jaron Geary. That's the reason for the 50-metre penalty.
Yep.
Just went to sleep.
Yep.
It's back to 2 even goals.
Hold, grabbed his arm.
All right, here they go. Free kick to the Blues. Warnock looks up. Saints just getting numbers back to fill the empty spaces. A high looping ball. Davies, O'Halpin, the real only hope up there in the air. When it hits the ground, the speedsters go to work, and there's no more exciting than Garland. Handball to Mr. Nobody. And it was Milne. He felt the full force of the Garland error. Went after it again. Oh, Murphy could almost have been a relatively fatal one. Across comes back to Murphy.
Good luck.
Dicey handball, no good at all as it turned out. And Stephen.
They're good at getting numbers back, aren't they, Saints?
Yeah, and they're up and running the other way now. Goddard takes it. Ahead there was plenty of options. Here's Dawson again.
He's a star.
Too late to square up now, Wolsey. Kick goes to full forward. Revolt almost, but Henderson, what a night he's had. And over to Murphy. Somewhat dangerously, they are living out there, the Blues defence. They've got to have a bit of an attacking mindset now, though. They're going to catch up these couple of goals and probably going to need 3 goals to win, you would think. Here's an opportunity.
Nick Revolt has had a disappointing night after showing good signs last week. Yaron, long ball for Gibbs as Carlton build again. A couple of goals down. A draw is in the frame here, and that's not good enough for St Kilda. They must win.
Yeah, but looking forward, Tim, St Kilda have already got 5 blokes extra back. Oh, they're freaks at doing it. I don't know why you just don't play man on man. It's the only way you're going to beat them. Man for man, which is the best team. Fascinating study.
And the short ball, it's a bit like golf, isn't it? Your long game can be sound, but your short game is completely different. And often players, when they try the very short, cute pass, mess it up.
Boundary umpire does his thing right here on the wing.
Bit like my golf.
Kazitsky, Gibbs straight into Satanta. Polo. Kazitsky, good release. Stevens found his way through. Ray with a high one. Revolt again outnumbered. Henderson's just got his measure. Didn't quite finish the job, but had his wits about him. Dygan also employing the soccer tactics. There's a bit of rubbish out there on the ground to negotiate. Tui, it's like late in one of those finals in the 70s. Charging away, and trouble was Russell, but he too found an outlet that was to his liking. But it's hard yards down there. And Ray gives it to Goddard into the pocket. Snyder had a lot of time to get the logistics right.
Do you want to say it?
Wasn't far off. Handy point. Plenty of time if they're good enough.
I tipped this.
Gee, St Kilda's defensive work is so good. Just the last gasp tackle so often has effect. Henderson long ball. What a good snare that is by Kazitsky. Often maligned, he has raised a mighty effort there to haul that down, and the Saints will continue to attack, knowing that another goal will surely have them over the line here. He pumps it. He does hook it. McAvoy is there. Henderson too. Henderson has had a very good night down back for the Blues.
He just willed himself to that, Cosy.
McAvoy beaten by Warnock. He continues to work hard. Did he dispose of that correctly? The umpire waves it on. Revolt. More seconds tick away.
Rob, a question. from the floor. Judd, Murphy off. Give him a bit of a spell, early spell.
Don't you want Carlton to have any chance of winning the game?
No, this is what you do. Would you take them off or just keep it going?
I'd keep it going. There's only another 5 or 6 minutes to go. And
Right,
they might win. I don't think they will, but they might win. So you give yourself a chance to do that. Not that it means much.
All right, and here goes Carlton after applying a really good tackle on Dempster. 5 minutes to go.
Yeah, I reckon if you're a player, you want to play.
Well,
Always think of the player.
They've got to find an avenue here, Carlton.
Well, they won't because they've got 15 behind the ball, St Kilda.
So Walker finds Betts. Betts saying to his teammates, you've got to get down there and give me something to go to.
Warnock, give us a contest.
Warnock does fly. Judd also decided that he had to try and provide something. Now they can reset from the stoppage.
I wish they would. I wish someone would try this. During the finals, you know, someone might just try this man-on-man in this environment because you're not going to kick a goal when you're outnumbered 6-1.
Warnock. Stephen busting a gut. Pinged. Good work from Armfield.
Chris Judd coming off. He looks exhausted, looks tired. I reckon young Oscar might be keeping him up.
You know, Halpin benched at the moment, which means Carlton's one tall target is not available to them. Henderson once more. Nowhere to go for the Blues. Saints with all bases covered. Wide ball for Dygan. Davies gives him something short. Fisher, though, with him. Got him over the shoulder.
Well,
Carlton's ball.
They've got Warnock inside the forward 50. He has to be contesting for the long ball coming in.
It would take 3 Carlton scores to deny St Kilda their home final. Their objective for the night. Dempster with the fist. Defence always a forethought. Gilbert to Goddard. Good smother. Davies coming front on. The line there for the Saints, and the ball did cross.
And that's the next level that Warnock has to go to. He's got to will himself to get to a marking contest like that. He had to work hard to get to it. He decided he wasn't going to do it. I reckon he's improved out of sight, but he's still got to get better.
Clearly, Cade Simpson's the most prolific night. Now, can the Blues find some sort of avenue to goal? Armfield. Here's Simpson again. Possession number 39 for Robinson. Tiptoes back. Here's Murphy. Just shoveled it on. And again, the wealth of numbers proving the most important factor for the Saints. Armfield gets another crack at it. But again, no space to work in. And Betts too. Just can't do anything about it other than just try and provide nuisance value. Now Revolt. Stevie Milne might have one more trick up the sleeve. Through half forward. That was absolutely perfect for Snyder. Game over.
How does it happen? I reckon Brett Ratton will have a good look at this and say, how come we're cluttered at one end and yet they're open at the other end? But they're man-on-man down there, but we're outnumbered in the forward line. It's interesting.
You touched on it earlier, Tim. It really has been a remarkable recovery from St Kilda and Ross Lyon after their season started so dismally. He just got to the stage to admitting that his team wasn't the same one as last year after all their issues. The Blues fans have seen enough. And then gradually, they tried some young players, but they pretty much got injured and went out of the side. And it's been left to the tried and true to work their way back. And they will host the final next week in Melbourne against the Sydney Swans. And who knows what after that.
And Rewalt, handball to Stevie Milne, sets up Snyder with a lovely little chip pass. The Old Firm were terrific last week with Cozzy as the 4th member of that quartet, and they've delivered again tonight.
So the Saints are there. There's no doubt about it now. They're not going to give this one up. They're going to finish 6th on the table. All 4 finals on the first week will be in Melbourne. And since the introduction of the final 8, in 1994. It will only be the second time that that's happened. The other occasion was in 95.
Trust you to bring that up, Tim.
95 was a very good year. But Carlton fans who might have enjoyed that year, if they're old enough, will be starting to shift very uncomfortably in their seats if they're the ones still in this stadium, because while St Kilda will go in with great momentum against Sydney in Melbourne, Carlton will now have a very nervous week against Essendon. Free kick to the Blues for out on the full. And they're going to face them with so many question marks over their talls. Cruz has hurt himself. Waite showing no signs of returning. Jamison couldn't line up tonight. A team that's lacked height at either end of the ground is in real trouble at both ends.
And Thornton, who's had a good season out of the team in the last couple of weeks. And he's been really handy for them. Malcolm, next week.
Yep.
Sydney down here to play St Kilda.
Yeah, I think it'll be an absolute battle. They play similarly, very similar styles. It will be a very tight game of football. I wouldn't write off the Swans, I can assure you.
Loser eliminated, of course, and the winner will play the loser of the Friday night match between Hawthorn and Geelong. Brett Ratten with a lot to think about as he searches for his first victory in a final as coach.
Tim, having been in this environment a number of times, all you do is say that wasn't probably good enough tonight, boys, but here's some tape of Essendon playing last week, and that's what you show tonight to the players. Just a 2 or 3 minute tape and say that we forget about tonight and now we start to focus next week. And that's one of the beauties of being in your position and knowing your position. But as a coach now, you can actually give this game away so the players can give it away quickly too. You want to move on quickly here.
The Saints fans are chanting. Their season was in ruin halfway through. They came here tonight not having won on the MCG in their last 7 encounters here. But when they've had to produce this year, they have produced.
Well,
and it's a relayed free kick here to Revolt.
Yeah, Laidler hanging on to Nick Revolt.
And he has a man running forward in Jason Graham from a long way out. He just misses. It matters not. It's the Saints by 20.
Similarly, Ross Lyon, who has been through it the last few years, hasn't he, really? He'll have his plan ready.
You must go back. You can't take the footy until he's given a score. So go back to the bucket.
Oh, yeah, that's very important.
Especially at the 30.5-minute mark of the last quarter.
Absolutely important.
Well, it's umpire Simon Overland.
McAvoy the spoil, Jones the swat for the Saints. A 20-point lead to St Kilda, a 9-goal-4 second half on a ground on which the Blues were expected to run the Saints off their legs. It hasn't worked like that. Montagna puts them back inside the 50. Murphy's ball at the full. Finds a way out. Gives to Russell. To Joseph.
Just hemmed them up, haven't they, the Saints?
The Saints will host a final on the first week. Hope lives. The Saints will not say die.
Schneider, they're singing the song, mate. It's just a tough, gutsy win. You just ground it out and you get that all-important home final next week.
Yeah, it was. It's sort of a bit of a dead rubber, but we were playing for a home final, and our first half wasn't as good as we liked. The second half, we just dug in and got the win.
You, of all people, know how powerful the Swans are in Sydney. It is a massive result to you get to play them down here at Etihad.
Yeah, it is, but don't underestimate them away from Sydney, mate. They're a great team, and they have been for the last 10 years, and so we're expecting a nice, tough, physical game and looking forward to it.
Looking forward to it, mate. Congratulations on the win.
Thanks, boys. Cheers.
Former West Coast grand final teammates.
And a terrific return by Michael Gardner. On what we saw tonight, he'll play next week.
Yep.
And I reckon it worked perfectly for Gardner and Ross Lyon. He got 2.5 quarters of football, then subbed out.
So the Saints win by 20. They will go in on a roll. Stephen Milne, who had a two-man war with Aaron Joseph tonight, having the last laugh. 3 goals beside his name. The Blues only kicked 9 for the night. And if you haven't got target forwards, Malcolm Blight, despite all the new techniques in this game, you still have problems. Let's get down to Mark Howard again.
Milne, we just speaking to Schneiders about how important this win was for the footy club.
Yeah, it's an amazing game. Pretty hard effort. You know, they jumped us early, and to get a home final is what we played for. And big game next week into 20s.
It is, mate. Etihad, you love Etihad, and another wonderful game by you tonight, and a nice little contest for you and Aaron Joseph throughout the evening.
Yeah, it's a good play, AJ. They played pretty hard, but it's good to get a win. You know, they were under the pump early, and second half, you know, we really played really well.
Mate, what do you put it down to? Halfway through the season, a lot of people had written you off. There was all sorts of problems, and you've come home in the second half like a steamroller.
Yeah, it's a big turning point. We had a meeting, you know, early in the year. It's been a long meeting, and you know, we just needed to work a lot harder, and we have. You know, for and with, you know, we're working individual early days. Now we're working a lot harder. So,
good on you, mate. You better get that flag and get out of here.
What a star he is! What a crucial player he will be for St Kilda.